Texas A&M Aggies are taking on the Florida Gators in a big matchup in College Station, and this game might be a little bit more difficult than some might think.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I am your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I am joined by Harrison Reno today again. And Harrison, it is a lot more difficult of a game than we thought it might be this week, based on what happened last weekend against the University of Texas. The Florida Gators are coming into College Station with seemingly new life. And this seems like a game that, the Aggies are favored by 7.5, but it seems like a game that Aggie fans need to watch out for.
Yeah, it almost starts to feel like what we thought it would be coming into the year. Florida was a dark horse in the SEC, was a team that was by many among the teams that were like on the outside looking in to make the college football playoff coming into the year. I think they were top 15 at the beginning of the year in the AP poll, preseason AP poll, and that quickly got derailed, kind of like last year. It's kind of funny. 2 years in a row, Billy Napier has basically been a guy on the chopping block, about to be fired, and then somehow he gets some big win to silence the doubters. But, I mean, look, there's a difference between a team that is desperate and just needs anything than a team that's coming off a big win and has to string them together. And until further notice, I have to see Florida string them together and play with the consistency that they did down the stretch last year, which bought Billy Napier at the time to be able to come into College Station and have this chance to play Texas A&M. But yeah, I'm with you, Matt. This game looks a lot easier or a lot more difficult than it did a week ago. But if I'm an Aggie fan and I'm looking at this game, you're at home, you're not going to the swamp. This team hasn't dealt with success very much this year. They haven't dealt with it very much over the last 3 years. There's a lot that can go against Florida in this game. And for one, Matt, Aggie fans, I guess, most importantly, should take, joy in the fact that they've been playing as expected to start the year. And they're not a team that, kind of like Texas, went in there not playing their best football exactly to start this year.
Yeah, Texas A&M has been firing on all cylinders. They have been winning games in multiple different ways. You saw them win a defensive struggle against Auburn. You saw them win an offensive shootout against Notre Dame, and you saw them dominate late in the fourth quarter after a slow start against Mississippi State. They've beaten a couple of good football teams. I think Mississippi State's a good football team. I think Notre Dame is pretty good. Auburn, jury's out. I don't think they're that good. But I didn't think Florida was very good. I watched the tape against Miami, and I thought, man, Texas is going to absolutely eat DJ Lagway alive. They are not going to be able to do anything offensively in that game. It was kind of a situation where I was like, man, like Billy Napier could be fired on Sunday. And then Florida comes out and just manhandles Texas on the front on both sides. They run the ball 12 times on the first drive with Jaden Bobb, march it down Texas's throat, score a touchdown. DJ Lagway is pretty much upright that entire game. He's completing passes at a high clip. The defensive line is just absolutely eviscerating that Texas offensive line and making mincemeat out of that pass protection scheme. They made Texas look like a 5-7 football team, which I did not see happening. And I feel like, and I talked about this in a crossover that's coming out tomorrow with Florida Locked On host Brandon, but this seems kind of on brand for Florida to a certain extent. Like they get off to a slow start, then they kind of figure things out, and Billy Napier somehow saves his job, and blah, 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 blah. They just looked like a totally different football team on Saturday to a degree that I did not expect whatsoever. And I get Texas was seemed like they were kind of sleepwalking in that game. But I think it was a lot more than that. I think you got to give Florida credit. Getting Dallas Wilson back was big for them. He looks like Ryan Williams had a fusion dance from Dragon Ball with Jeremiah Smith. He looked incredible. DJ Lagway looked like a different quarterback. They look like if they play like that, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, it really is starting to. You saw the team that you expected to see. It's kind of crazy. Dallas Wilson has only played in one game. This was his one game. He has 6 receptions, 111 yards. He's already top five. He's already a top five receiver production wise for Florida. And as we saw on Saturday, he's probably not going to be long till he's number one. This team has weapons. I think, Matt, the narrative I want to dispel about this team, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, is Florida in the trenches is playing or has played as well as you expected them in the preseason. They're bringing back all 5 of their starting offensive linemen, I believe, at least 4 out of the 5. Their offensive lineman has an all-SEC player in the middle of that defense. In their center, Austin Barber. That guy's a player. That guy's a football player. Their defensive line, they've had some injuries up on that front, but they got some all-SEC players on the defensive front, and they showed that this weekend versus Texas. Like those 2 positions plus the run game, they've been playing up to standard for what you expected out of Florida coming into the year. The problem has been DJ Lagway and that surrounding offense, maybe even Billy Napier and the play calling to an extent, hasn't been playing up to par. I don't get it. Your best football player by far and away before Saturday was Jaden Ball. That guy's probably going to be an all-SEC running back. There's no reason he shouldn't be getting 20 carries a game. And they finally made that adjustment. He didn't carry it more than, I think, 12 times in the loss to LSU. And if you remember, DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions in that football game. Why did Jalen Ball only have 10 rushes for 46 yards versus LSU's defense? He averaged 4.6 a carry, Matt. Like, it's the little things that has gone wrong for them. He carried it 12 times versus Miami, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. He was their best football player on offense. And it wasn't until Saturday that they started to treat him like it. And that's the dangerous thing about this team. Not only is Jaden Ball starting to get going and they're starting to realize, hey, we got to get this guy the football because he's one of our best players, but he's taking the pressure off DJ Lagway, which it's kind of crazy to me, Matt, that a coach on the hot seat and a coach that's calling the plays for Florida, Billy Napier, it's taken a bye week in these first few games for him to dig himself into a hole to realize, hey, I got to get my best players the ball to be successful. Like, I don't understand it. But if you're an Aggie fan looking at this matchup, on paper, Dallas Wilson should scare you. But more than anything, Jaden Ball should scare you because they're going to have the ability to run the football pretty much unlike any other team you've played other than maybe Notre Dame this year.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair statement. This is a very, very tough. Excuse me. This is a very tough running back in Jaden Ball. He's not just big. He weighs like 240 pounds. He can run through you. But he's super shifty, as we saw against Texas. There was some times where Texas looked like they had him bottled up, and he was able to, break through and get a positive gain. Those are the kinds of running backs like Jadarian Price, like Jeremiah Love, like Robert Henry in Week 1 that give Texas A&M problems. That being said, I don't want this to come off in the first segment and just be a Florida glaze fest, because I think Texas A&M has a pretty dang good shot to win this football game. And are they on upset alert? Absolutely. I think after what happened with Texas last week with Florida, any team that plays Florida this year, when they play like that, should be on upset alert. That's not a slight against the Aggies whatsoever. I think Texas A&M is a better football team all around. I think they have more explosiveness on the offense by a wide margin. I think their defense is playing at a level that I did not anticipate seeing after the first few weeks here in the last couple. And I think that Mike Elko has this team in a position where they finally believe in themselves. I think they believed in themselves all season long, but there's always been this point where Texas A&M just kind of,
touches that glass ceiling. And
Yes, exactly. And it feels like Mike Elko has reinforced that glass ceiling with bulletproof material. And I think they believe they can beat anybody. They're capable of beating anybody, and this Florida team should be no different. And that's something that I think Mike Elko deserves so much credit for that I don't know that he's getting from a national perspective quite yet.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, maybe the Texas win for Florida does Texas A&M. I think helps them maybe more than it hurts them, because that was a desperate football team. I mean, if Florida's coming off a loss to Texas, and it maybe it's a close one, maybe Texas makes the comeback and Arch Manning hits that last game winning drive to force overtime, and they come back and win, and it's a heartbreaker. Maybe that hurts A&M a little bit, because as that team then becomes even more desperate, and then you start seeing, hey, maybe they start to put things together. Now, and I get it, they have some confidence now. Their quarterback's going to have some confidence, which he was severely lacking after those first few weeks. I mean, that LSU game was a train wreck for his confidence in terms of throwing 5 picks in one football game. Now they have some confidence, but confidence breeds overconfidence sometimes. And for a team that's not used to success, for a team who's won only 2 games and only one of them was against a team that had a pulse or should have had a pulse against them, maybe that breeds a little bit of success for Texas A&M, because Florida's in the position that A&M's been in the past, where they're having to handle success now. They have a big win. They got Texas unranked. It's kind of like your do or die moment. You have to beat the guy across from you to survive. They survived. Okay, now you got to do it again. And how do they respond to that? I'm with you. Even though Florida has made this much more of a competitive game on paper, I still like the Aggies in this one, Matt. And when we make our picks for the week with that 7.5-point spread or wherever the heck it is, I'm not changing. Like, I think A&M's going to cover, and I'm not running away from the fact that I said just the other day that this team's playing like one of the best teams, if not the best team in the SEC right now. And I don't think that changes. Like you said, I think, yeah, you could put them on upset alert, but I'd be much more nervous about Texas A&M sleepwalking through an Arkansas on the road game, or like a Missouri or like South Carolina at home, than I would be Florida right now, considering, hey, Texas A&M knows how hard it is to beat Texas. Even if it was last year and this Texas team's nowhere near what last year's Texas team was, that's Texas A&M's biggest rival. Like, they know what it means to beat them and how nice it is to beat them. I don't see you sleepwalking through them, especially due to the fact this is another night game in Kyle Field, coming off of one of the craziest environments that was last Saturday with the blackout. That was incredible. I kind of wish they could bottle up that energy and do it every week, because it would be every other team's funeral at this point with the way that place was.
Yeah, and you talk about Texas A&M being one of the top teams in the SEC. In our next segment, we are going to go through the SEC power rankings, rank where we think Texas A&M should be, where everybody else should be after a pretty eventful week 6. So stick with us after this break, and we will be right back with our power rankings. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing touchdown, and you're in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute, but my favorite part is Prize Picks just added stacks. So if you want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So download the Prize Picks apps today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 off in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Harrison, it's time for some power rankings. I like this segment every week. It's a lot of fun. We release our power rankings on Texas A&M Aggies on SI every week, and that's kind of our baseline for where we do this. Usually I do this segment with Zach, but he's getting married this week, so everybody say a little congratulations to Zach.
Congratulations!
He just got a big life change, so he's got the week off. But we're going to break down these rankings, and if you go over to Texas A&M Aggies on SI, you'll see where we kind of stand here. But number 1, we have the Ole Miss Rebels. It's not because of me that we have the Ole Miss Rebels. That's just where John, the writer that writes this story, has the power rankings, and I'm fine with it. They're coming off of a bye week after beating LSU the week before. They've already got 3 SEC wins, so that they've got that to their favor. We have Texas A&M at number 2. after their dominant win over Mississippi State. Oklahoma, number 3. Alabama, number 4. Georgia, number 5. Tennessee, number 6. Missouri, number 7. LSU, number 8. Vanderbilt, number 9, after their first loss of the season to Alabama. Mississippi State at 10. Texas at 11. South Carolina 12. Florida 13. Auburn 14. Kentucky 15. And the Arkansas Razorbacks at number 16. I'm going to come right out and say it. I think Ole Miss is fine at number 1. I do. And I get that Texas A&M probably has a better win on their resume with Notre Dame in conjunction with Auburn and Mississippi State than if you put together Arkansas, Kentucky, and LSU. That's debatable, but Ole Miss is playing extremely well right now, and it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation more than anything else, in my opinion.
For me, with Ole Miss, it's a lot of the conversation kind of goes back to what we talked about with Texas A&M. It's like, all right, they've gotten out to these hot starts before. They've played this well before. How do they handle it down the stretch? Last year, they should have been in the 12-team playoff. And if they were, I say that as in they had a team that was good enough to be in the 12-team playoff. And they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Lost a game you shouldn't have down the stretch in that year. You lost a game early in that year. That you lost early in that year that you shouldn't have lost to Kentucky. Like, how do they handle it? At this point last year, they'd already lost to Kentucky, if I remember correctly. I believe it was last weekend, or in this time last year, it would have been they lost to Kentucky. How do they handle it down the stretch? They've played an Arkansas team that's probably a little bit better than what their record says they are, a little bit tougher of a team. They played that Kentucky team. They beat them by a score. You played a Tulane team. I believe that was ranked. You played an LSU team who people obviously have the reservations about. They beat them. But now you're coming up to the meat of the schedule. You have to go on the road to Georgia. Historically, Ole Miss has not traveled well under Lane Kiffin. Hasn't fully translated. The last time they went to Sanford Stadium, I think that was a 30-point loss or 20-point loss. It was one of the two. It wasn't close.
Like
OU, you have to go
to 20 or something like that. I feel like.
Yeah. Then you have to go on the road to Oklahoma. Again, is Superman playing for Oklahoma? Does he have his cape on? Can he throw a football? I don't know. We'll figure out this weekend. But after that, then you kind of get into more of the trap games, man. And I'm not going to talk about Citadel. I'm talking your home versus South Carolina, your home versus Florida. Then you go on the road in the Egg Bowl to Mississippi State. By no means is Ole Miss done with their schedule. They got a lot of work left to do. Matt, I'm sorry. I got to see them go on the road and win a big-time game before I'm, like, pounding my desk that Ole Miss is the top team in the SEC. I think right now they deserve to be. Considering how everything else has fallen. But I don't know how much longer I will buy into that. Then again, they could go on the road and they beat Georgia. Georgia has their issues. They could go on the road to beat Oklahoma. And if that's the case, if they get through those two games, no question. Won't be doubting Kiffin and the Rebs from there on out.
You're good with
I know
Texas
we went a
A&M
little longer
number 2
there.
then? You're good with Texas
Yeah,
A&M
I'm good.
Two,
I'm good with A&M at number 2. I'm sorry I rambled right there. I like 1 and 2. I don't think you can change it any other way. I think those are the two best teams right now. I would love to see what they would look like if they matched up. Would make the schedule even more, fun. But right now, if I had to put two teams in Atlanta, I'm putting Ole Miss and Texas A&M in Atlanta.
Yeah, what a wild scenario that would be. First time ever for either team to be in Atlanta. That's the state of college football that we're in. All right, here's my first big issue with John's list. And it's no disrespect to John. He's an awesome guy. Love John.
Shout out John.
Shout out John Alfano. I'm not here to shade John. I just have a few different things that I may change around in here. Number one, I don't think Oklahoma should be number 3 without John Mateer in the lineup. I think Alabama deserves to be number 3 after what they did to Georgia and what they did to Vanderbilt. I think Alabama is your number 3 team. I think if you put Oklahoma somewhere, it may be a little lower, but not much lower. I do think Georgia's a better football team. I think Tennessee's a better football team. I think Missouri's a better football team. LSU is kind of where you get to the point where it's like, okay, I think they're around the same level. But Oklahoma's 5-0. They haven't lost yet. So I'd probably put Alabama 3, Georgia 4, and then just move Oklahoma down right in front of LSU. Down there, probably like number 7. But that being said, is there any other big movers or shakers that you would put somewhere else in this list? Because
no.
I feel like it's for the most part, it's pretty solid, just with the Oklahoma notwithstanding.
It is wild to see Texas among the bottom 6 schools. That is not a sight I expected to see. I mean, them being in 11, not saying it's not justified. Like, they got to go win some games. They can move up. I mean, if you beat Oklahoma, you're easily moving out of that 11 spot and probably solidly back within the top 8 in terms of power rankings. I guess my question is, Matt, how are we doing power rankings? Are we doing it based on who Vegas would favor or who we take to win in a head-to-head matchup on a neutral field? I think right now you're taking Ole Miss, you taking Ole Miss over Texas A&M on a neutral field. It's up for debate. I think that's close. But other than that, I mean, I'm with you. I would take Alabama over Oklahoma on a neutral field this year. We'll see about Georgia. I got my questions, certainly. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'd take Tennessee over Missouri. I'd take Tennessee over LSU. I'd take Tennessee over Vanderbilt, although don't let your hearts be troubled. I'm not giving up on 10-2 Vandy. And I'm not giving up on the Doors.
Okay.
But I think, honestly, it's a good ranking. I think John killed it because I think 1 and 2, undisputable. The only debate is OU in Alabama right now.
Yeah. I don't know that he necessarily has a formula for, analytics or whatever the hell you want to say about these power rankings. I think it's resume first, and then I think it's who wins head to head on the field and on a neutral site. And I'll just close with this real quick. I think that Alabama beats Oklahoma on a neutral field. I think Georgia beats Oklahoma on a neutral field. I think Tennessee does. I think Missouri does. And I think Oklahoma and LSU is the first one where you really have a question about who wins that game, in my opinion. So that's why I would drop Oklahoma a little farther. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've never liked Oklahoma. But, with John Mateer at quarterback, they can beat anybody. The problem is they don't have John Mateer right now. So that's a thing there.
Real quick, Matt, before you move on, because I know we got to move on. If we're doing it on the neutral field, obviously, and obviously resume is a big part of it. This is why we're Texas. If we're doing it basically just on who we think beats who, that's the only place where I'm like, okay, even with the resume, even with the losses, I'm probably moving Texas up if it's just purely based on who we think wins on neutral field. Because I'm taking Texas over Mississippi State. Yes, Vanderbilt as well. Texas LSU would be a fascinating game this year if Texas can just get somewhat serviceable offensive line play. Anyways, my bad. Continue.
No, you're totally right. We'll see. Texas deserves to be very low after what they put out this last weekend. So if they come back against Oklahoma and they have a good game, then we might change things. All right, let's move on to our next segment. When we come back, we are going to try to predict where Texas A&M's first loss comes, because I don't think there's going to be an undefeated team in college football this year. There very well could be in the regular season, but I don't think there will be. So when we come back, we will talk about that and give you our little projection before we close out the show. Stick with us. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless quotes, endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before buying. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home. Whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot where you're the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years, these businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a local spot that I like at College Station, Max Donuts. That's where it's been in the heart of the community for years. It's the kind of place where you walk in and everybody knows your name. I like a good donut on a college football Saturday before everything gets going. It's really what that's my favorite Saturday breakfast is donuts, and I really love Max Donuts. I think they do a great job over there. And you know what? I think everybody should go to Max Donuts, as a matter of fact, on Saturday before the Florida game because it's going to be a long one. Maybe you need some donuts before you get your tailgating in there. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, we got a few minutes left in the show before Harrison has to jump and I have to go eat dinner. So we're going to make this segment a little quicker. But Harrison, I don't know that we expected Texas A&M to be 5-0 at this point. Notre Dame was a tough one on the schedule. Auburn looked like it was going to be a tough one. Mississippi State, not necessarily too much, but 5-0 is 5-0, and they've been the best team in the SEC, alongside Ole Miss all season long. It's hard to project where their first loss might come after what we've seen so far. I wouldn't have expected it to be like this, but remaining on the schedule, you have a home game against Florida, and then your first road SEC games, 3 in a row, Arkansas, LSU, and Missouri. Then you come back home for South Carolina and Samford, and you go on the road to finish things out in Austin against Texas. If you're trying to sit here and project where the first loss is, I think the one that stands out the most is the night game. I mean, it's going to be a night game. There's no way that it's not a night game. It's TBD right now, but it's an SEC game in Baton Rouge. It's going to be a night game. That's just how it works over there. That's the one that stands out, I think, in everybody's minds. But I think that you could also kind of you could pick a number of these football games. I'm gonna give you my guess first. I think it's actually at Missouri, the week after LSU. I just think that after an emotional game in Baton Rouge, it's going to be really hard to go back on the road in what'll be a really tough game against a really, really good Missouri offense that might have the best running back in the country. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. Where do you see this, Harrison?
It's hard. I can't. I'm gonna have to see how they play Alabama this weekend before Missouri just always lets you down. It just seems like last year, good friend of mine said you could go ahead and print the bowl bound t-shirts in October, just because of where they're at. I'm gonna have to see it. I think Bo Perbula's been amazing, been awesome. Makes you wonder certainly why. Maybe he wasn't starting at Penn State. That's a fun debate. Ahmad Hardy, like you're talking about, it's good. It's hard for me, Matt. I think LSU is the logical choice right now. I think it's the most likely choice. Like you said, 3 straight road games. Probably not the luck of the draw you're hoping for if you're A&M in terms of, you want to space those out a little bit. I think you're going to beat Arkansas. You're going to go on the road. You're feeling hot. LSU is a good team. They may not be great, but I just look at LSU and I'm like, man, they got some things that can test A&M. Garrett Nussmeier's been playing really good this year despite some of the things around him. I think that's a shootout, and I'll lean with LSU being the first loss. But I mean, if you make it past LSU, I definitely see the scenario where you lose to Missouri. But after that, Matt, I don't see you losing at home to South Carolina. I obviously don't see you losing to Samford. Like, if you get to November 28th in Austin, you're looking at like, all right, like even no matter where Texas is at that point, you're still looking at that game like, hey, that's a game you could lose. But right now, I think it's October 25th. I think you get the Halloween scaries, and LSU gets a night win. Crazy how LSU always gets the night games. I was surprised that your Rebs are going to Athens for a 3:30 kick. I guess that's next week.
Yeah, I'm sure they appreciate that one. Before I hop off, I think if Texas, if they don't fix their offensive line by the time Texas A&M comes to Austin, Texas A&M wins that game by 40. So I'll say that. But all right, we're gonna cut the show there. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. But it's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, like our podcast, download our podcast. Give me a follow over on Texas A&M Aggies on SI and on X at Mike Galatzan. Follow Harrison on X at Harrison Reno, and we will see you next time. When are you not going to push the Vanderbilt 10-2 narrative? That's what I want to know.